there's so much money in pressure washing or soft washing. We've done $30,000. We started 45, 60 days ago. We've sent a sequence of 2 emails out to that client base and it generated $30K in income. I would not be where I am today and my success in business and all the things without it. Sometimes profit is not just in the short term. What can I do, in the next 30 days? Sometimes profit is...
What's going on, guys? Today I'm joined by Chase Lord. Chase is based out of Georgia. He's the co-owner of MEGAH SoftWash and his newer company, Azalea Outdoor Lighting. He's absolutely crushing it, so super excited to dive deeper into things with you today, Chase.
Awesome, man. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. For starters, just so people have some context and a better understanding of who you are, do you mind just giving some background about yourself and the companies you're a part of?
Yeah, absolutely. So Chase Lord, MEGAH SoftWash, Azalea Outdoor Lighting. I live in Augusta, Georgia. It's the best time in Augusta because the Masters tournament is taking place right now. So we've been on a mad rush. It's like everybody in Augusta is trained to soft wash their house, right here before Masters season. And so March is our biggest month of the year. So we've been pushing hard. Last year we made a massive mistake and we tried to do just gobs of revenue. I ended up running a bunch of guys off. So I'm a much happier person this time of year in Augusta. But I'm married to my wife, Mindy, coming up on 18 years. I have 3 kids. I have a son who's 13, a daughter who's 11, and a daughter who's 8. And I love Jesus and I love business and I love people. So that's a little bit about me.
That's awesome. Well, there's definitely a lot of stuff we can dive into, a lot of directions, but I think one of the first things which I thought was very interesting, because I've seen you mention a few times, was in regards to your partner. And I don't think that's something we talk about much, is partnerships, because sometimes it can get super messy and a lot of people just have no idea how to run a proper partnership. So is it cool if we kind of talk a bit about how that came to fruition?
Absolutely. Really cool. So Andrew Tyson is my business partner. He's actually a Conquer coach, phenomenal guy. He and I met at church. We were in Sunday school one day and he saw I had a MEGAH pressure washing shirt on. He's like, "Hey, I see what you're doing here. I would love to be a part of it." And so he and I met and he was like, "Yeah, I would love to partner with you." And I remember at that time, I just had the mindset of Dave Ramsey that, the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership. And I was like, I don't want to partner. He's like, let me just come work with you and see if I can help. So I guess he started with me in April of 2016 and he was just all in and he became he just absolutely crushed it, added so much value. I felt like, I say that I gave him ownership. He absolutely 100% earned the ownership. So that fast forward to 2017, he got 10% ownership. Another year, I think we went to 30%. Then we went to 45%. 55 me, 45 him. Then we went to a 51-49 split because I always heard, don't give away majority of your company. And then, we've been in this thing together for 8 years now. He and I have honestly never had an argument. I know that sounds crazy. We've had disagreements. I will just say he is a very patient man with me. I am like the definition of entrepreneurial ADD. But now we are 50-50 partners. And so we have MEGAH SoftWash. He and I are 50-50. We're 50-50 in Azalea Outdoor Lighting. We both have 30% ownership in MEGAH SoftWash of Baltimore. And then we just purchased this commercial building that we're in. It's a 2-acre lot, 12,000 square foot building. We have currently, there's 3 tenants, including us. We got our 4th tenant coming in June. And so, the business partnership has been a blessing. I tell anybody this, that I would not be where I am today in my success in business and all the things without Andrew Tyson being by my side and us kind of going at this. I'm sure I would have made some progress, but if you can find that kind of, and this sounds kind of weird, but that yin to your yang and that person that is a great complement, then it can absolutely work out, right? It is 100% like a marriage. I spend more time with my work, we'll call my work wife, than I do my home wife. I spend more time with Andrew than I do my actual wife. So you talk about relationship management, grace, patience, understanding, hearing people out is so important. But what I would say, we have been very blessed with an amazing partnership for the last 8 years. I have a lot of people ask me questions. Hey, should I go get a partner? And there's a guy named Tom Kroll that I've been following lately. And Tom says, don't partner when you can pay someone, essentially, whenever you can hire. Yeah, don't partner when you can hire. So, does that help answer your question about partnerships?
100%. And that's a really good point. A lot of people will, they're considering a partnership with someone that, at the end of the day, their employee, their team member, maybe they might need to be paid more than what they're originally making, but they're probably not, in the position where they need to get equity. So it makes a lot of sense. And I really like your approach where you didn't just go out, give them 49% right off the rip. You started at 10% and then slowly work your way up, which is actually a really smart approach because some people, they do have that, messy partnership and they don't realize it until, they've already given up half their company. But what you did is you took so long to do it that you knew for sure he was a good fit.
Absolutely. I have a buddy, a guy that I coach, and he's now a dear friend, but he had a partnership that they both went in 50-50. Things were great. And then, like, instantly they turned bad. There was like no communication. The office could tell it. And then he ended up having to, basically a bad divorce. He ended up having to pay this guy $350,000 to buy his business back from this guy. So he had started the company. He brought a guy in as a partner, and then the guy, he had to essentially buy his company back. So definitely always proceed with caution in the partnership route.
Yeah, it can definitely get messy, but no, I really like your approach. And so I'm curious, when do you know if it does? I know you said like don't, partner with someone that can just be an employee, but when does it make sense to actually partner with somebody?
That's a phenomenal question. For us, I mean, we literally complement each other so well. The Bible talks about marriage, the husband and the wife are the helpmate. And so it's almost that same way in business for us is the areas that he's strong, maybe, he's strong in areas that I'm weak in, and I'm weak in areas that he's strong in. I think it should be like this overwhelming conviction. Let me say this. I think your partner is going to come to you. Don't go out looking for a partner. And then you've got to be overwhelmingly convinced that this is the right person to spend the rest of your life with. So like we think about a marriage. So we date somebody. So essentially Andrew and I did that. We courted, this is going to sound terrible when we go back and listen to this. We courted one another and we kind of took, the steps before we jumped all the way in and became fully married. And so yeah, that would just proceed with caution, take time, give it a test run. A test run is not 30 days or 60 days. A test run is 6, 12, 18 months before you dive in because this is a legal partnership. It's just like a marriage. We have all the documentation to back it up. What happens if I get on drugs and I go crazy and I leave my family or try to run the business in the ground? There's legal things that are in place. And then one day, whether it's, death or we sell the company or we just decide to part ways, it will literally be like breaking up a partnership or a marriage at that point.
Yeah. And that's a really good analogy, actually. Like a lot of people don't look at it this way, but at the end of the day, you're looking for a partner potentially for life. Like unless your goal is to sell it very soon, which for most people, like it's not, then you're probably going to be working with them for decades. So you definitely need to make sure you're working with the right partner.
Yes.
That's awesome. It's cool to see that, there's a lot of partnerships that don't work out and some that work amazing, like you said, drive you even further. So it's awesome to see that it's obviously worked well for you and even allowed you to start other businesses, which is really cool. I'm curious, you guys decided to go ahead and start a new business together. Why not put, that same effort towards continuing this business? Why go out and branch out to another business?
Yeah, great question. So we've actually been down this road once before. So 3 years ago, we started Brighter Bins. We're like, hey, it's a great idea. Let's go buy a really expensive trash bin cleaning truck and let's start Brighter Bins. So created an awesome company, awesome branding, name. We got out there in the community. We got, I don't remember if we were at 600 clients, somewhere around there. And then we realized, number one, it's really hard to make money, $15 at a time. I know there's guys who are successful with it, but for us, it was a hard lesson. And then the biggest thing was the opportunity cost of what it costs by taking our attention off of our SoftWash business. And so as we've come into starting this Azalea outdoor lighting, we've been very, very conscientious of not dividing our attention and taking our attention off of MEGAH SoftWash. So the idea behind it was I love pressure washing. I love soft washing. It's a great business to be in, but it's also really hard business. We went from a $500 truck that I bought from a neighbor and me working part-time while I was at my corporate job to now we have there's 6 trucks out today, but we run 5 crews basically all year round. And so I love it, but it's a numbers game. I was running a report this morning. We've done 407 clients so far this year. Something's going to mess up somewhere. And I don't want, and hopefully my guys don't take it this way, I don't need 10 headaches running out around. I got 5 trucks pressure washing right now. I don't necessarily want to double my business on the pressure washing side. So the idea was, how do we take the same client base and present a different vertical or a different option for them, be able to take advantage of 8 years of just building know, like, and trust with these clients and building a reputation and a relationship, and now present to them another offer, higher ticket, be able to increase our ticket value, and then honestly not having to, just not having to have 10 pressure washing trucks on the road. I know there's guys who do it, and talk to me 2 years from now and I may have 10 trucks on the road, and we dump the Azalea outdoor lighting and we're like, there's so much money in pressure washing or soft washing. But right now, that was kind of the mindset, to be able to cross sell, and not have to, it cost me 75 grand to set up a soft wash truck. So that's from buying the truck, we build our own rigs now, putting our wrap on it. It's very expensive versus me setting up another lighting crew. I mean, you're literally looking at a truck and some hand tools, and then the rest of it is product. So that was kind of our mindset behind it.
Got it. Okay. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So from my understanding then, are you guys obviously still marketing this business, but a lot of the heavy lifting with marketing is already taken care of because you already have that customer base?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have not, from what we are in the background working, we're working with a marketing agency we're getting ready to launch into the Google ad space. We're just now, Ryan Golgoski with 180 Sites has offered to build the site for us. So Ryan's building the site in the background. We're obviously going to put some money into SEO there, but we've done $30,000. We started, 45, 60 days ago. We've done 30,000 in installs, and that's just off of our current client base. I think we've sent I think we've sent a sequence of 2 emails out to that client base and generated 30K in income.
That's awesome. Yeah, so many people don't realize how strong their database is. They're not sending, the newsletters, the annual text or quarterly text, really stuff like that. So what you guys are doing, you can't market to the same person you just serviced a month ago for the same service, but now you're offering new service so you can market to them and just squeeze the juice out of each customer.
Absolutely, for sure.
I mean, this may be premature, but do you guys plan on offering more services in the future and continue scaling that way?
So we say that and we've changed our mind. We said we want to add 1 business a year, which we're not going to do that. My wife will kill me if we do that, if I don't kill myself in the process. But the idea is that we want to have a portfolio of service-based companies that can cross-sell and that can feed each other and that we can refer. So ideally, like if we had the option, we would start a paint company next, or I would not start, we would go acquire a residential painting company. And so, I mean, we send leads. I have a dear friend, Michael Schiebel, with a Cut Above Painting. We send a lot of work to, but I mean, it's just, we're looking for those complementary businesses, the soft wash side, the outdoor lighting, the painting, or whatever that may be. So, you know how it is. You get ambitious and you say, we're going to do all these things. We're going to buy a business a year and we're going to grow $1 million a year, 100% year over year. And the reality is we all probably need to just slow down a little bit. It's not 2020 anymore. We're not going to grow 200% a year. And let's start to get back into that. Let's put this thing, let's maybe gear down. Let's get our systems and processes in place, dial in our client experience, and let's remind ourselves that we're in this for the long haul. I think in private equity still out there, but so many people, it's like private equity is going to come buy my company. I just need to build it 4 years and we're going to exit. The likelihood of that happening is probably pretty low. I don't speak from experience, but if I can just slow down, focus on building the core foundation of my company, and then as opportunities come along and they're a good fit, then we'll step into those opportunities.
Got it. And so why go the route starting, like even if hypothetically you offer new service in the future, it sounds like your plan is to start a whole new business around that. Why do that rather than just offering more services within the same company?
Yeah, I mean, you've heard this. I mean, you're coach, and we talk about the riches are in the niches. And so I want to be the industry expert in that industry. I don't want to be the all-pro services guy who does HVAC, window tinting, pressure washing, and all that, because I want to go to the guy who is MEGAH SoftWash. MEGAH SoftWash, biggest name in Augusta in the area of soft wash exterior cleaning. We're the most expensive. We deliver the best client experience. And so whenever I'm probably not going to call MEGAH SoftWash to get my house painted. Now, I would call a cut above painting because that's all they do. They're not distracted. And so for us, we want to build these different verticals that identify as Azalea outdoor lighting, that identify as whatever it is, such and such painting. And so we want them to have their own brand identities. That's why we didn't do MEGAH outdoor lighting. MEGAH, we want that name to be solely really known as the SoftWash. Azalea, I want it to be known as the outdoor lighting. Whatever this next opportunity is, I want it to have its own vertical, have its own brand identity. I think too often people, and I mean, gosh, you're in marketing, so you know this, people confuse the client. They give them, decision anxiety because they can't figure out what is this person selling, what do they specialize in, and we want to eliminate as many barriers as possible.
That makes a lot of sense. If you're going to someone offering painting services, but your name says soft washing in it, then they're probably not going to trust you as much. But specializing in that niche specifically will probably help you, close at a much higher rate.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And so I'm curious then, you have these two different companies then, maybe in the future you'll have more. On the back end, are you having different people within each company, or do you kind of have the same leadership structure within each?
So it's a tough question to answer right now because we're so early on the Azalea outdoor lighting side. But just a little bit of a backstory. So we've always typically had a pretty strong leadership team, so much so that it was unprofitable. And that's one of the biggest lessons we've learned this year. We've had a lady in the office since 2017 working full time for us. Our office manager, after she left us after about a year and a half, in January, February, we hired a virtual assistant. That virtual assistant is absolutely unbelievable. She does all of our call intake, outbound calls, scheduling, dispatching for MEGAH SoftWash of Augusta, MEGAH SoftWash of Baltimore. Right now, I'm taking the Azalea calls just to manage and design that client experience before I hand it off to her so that she has a script and all those things. But yeah, I mean, our leadership team consists of, we have one salesman. He's strictly SoftWash sales, right? We're running anywhere from 5 to 8 estimates a day on the SoftWash side. Again, to build that client experience right now, to create, we're all about creating a wow event for all people. We say through gratitude and a servant's heart. So I'm creating, what does that look like on the Azalea side? So I'm doing estimates right now, but the idea is that that's kind of the cost savings, and I can't think of the right word right now, the synergies of, we have these multiple companies, but it takes a smaller leadership team to manage that. So even like with our marketing guy manages Augusta, Baltimore, Azalea outdoor lighting. And so we have cost savings there versus having a management fee inside of all these different companies.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm curious then, you have the one ops manager, which is now outsourced overseas. You have the salesperson, you have 5 crews, I believe you said. Aside from that, is there really anyone else within that team for the soft washing side, or is that the entire team needed to run a 7-figure business?
Yeah, great question. So ever since I hired JD back in 2019, I think it was 2018. JD quickly became my service manager. So I've had a service manager or an operations manager for the last 6 years. And my service manager is leaving me after he's been with me for 2 years. He got an opportunity to go work with his dad in an HVAC company. So he just left us. We're actually not replacing that position. It's a $25 an hour position. It's very valuable. The problem is having a $25 hour position in the field that's not revenue producing. So we're transitioning to a new model, what we call our tech team leads. And so we'll have 2 tech team leads. One of those tech team leads will be responsible for the guys. So if the guys are out in the field, they have a question or an issue that they need resolved before it comes to me as the owner, they would actually go to that tech team lead. He would take the information, try to help resolve the issue. If he can't figure it out, he's going to come to me. And then the second tech team lead will be over the shop and be over the machines and maintenance and making sure. So essentially we're creating more leadership opportunities inside that tech field to give them some more opportunity for advancement. So that person, maybe they receive $1 or $2 extra hour pay, But the idea is I still need them producing revenue. It's really hard to take one full-time position making $25 an hour and pull them out of the field and they're not generating revenue. That gets expensive over time. So yeah, that's it. I mean, we've got a salesman. I made a big mistake and hired a director of marketing back in October. Ashley's great, but it was a mistake on our part. It was to think that you can hire one person to manage everything, organic, paid, across all the social media platforms, YouTube, Google, run all of your marketing strategy, all your things, and then still do, building relationships. So we spent a little over $5K a month. We lost about $25,000 over that period. So we have the further and further, I like to say this ain't 2020 anymore. Right? All of us got used to 2020. You could run around naked and you could get leads. Like it was, you could do no wrong to get leads. Now everybody's having to work for them and money's not as free flowing as it was. So for us, our big focus this year is we're highly focused on profit. We're highly focused on streamlining our process and everything that we do, really, I mean, we look at financials every single week at a minimum. We're constantly looking and trying to manage those expenses.
For sure. And I'm sure getting rid of that operations role probably really helped the margins as well.
Yeah, I mean, you think so that my ops manager was making, or my service manager was making, let's say at a minimum 50K a year. We'll call it almost, I think last year he made 60. My office manager, she made 50. And then the director of marketing, she made, and crap, with bonuses, these guys made even more. So let's say on average, it was 60K each. So I just saved 180,000. Now I have a VA who we pay, but she's less than half of what I was paying. So I'm saving over $150,000 just on my admin labor cost alone.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's straight to the bottom line, right?
Yeah, it doesn't affect anything. I mean, your operations are probably just as good, if not better. So that's going straight to bottom line. That's awesome. Okay, let's shift focuses a little bit because I know we don't have too much time, and I did want to dive a bit into family because I know you're huge on family. That's something a lot of people struggle to balance. Some people, I speak with people and they say, one day I'll have the time to spend with my family. One day I'll have the business where I can spend the time with my family. And then, something happens and it never happens. They don't get that time and you never get your time back either. So I'm curious, how did you go about managing your time throughout all of this growth?
Yeah, I mean, it has been like a continual learning process of like winning and then failing and then winning and then failing. My wife and I can be in a really good spot one day and then fast forward the next day, I respond in a negative way because of the stress and the overwhelm and I take us 2 steps back. But, if I rewind back to February of 2016 when I washed my first house and I was working a full-time corporate job and then washing on the side and we had little babies and I look back and I looked to my wife, I'm like, how did you even make it? She was like, I don't know, because I was so focused on the business. I just had these blinders on and it was just like revenue, 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 just do as much work as you possibly can. And I will say, I mean, and a lot of people are good about talking about this now, like you're never fully balanced in all the key areas of life, faith, family, fitness, finances, and relationships. So we're kind of out of balance in the different seasons. I just came out of March, which is our biggest month of the year, our biggest revenue month of the year. Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit out of balance. The guys are working 5 days a week where they normally work 4. We're working a little bit of later days. And so, if I had any encouragement for anybody out there, it is communicate, communicate, communicate. If you're going to be late, communicate with your wife. I made the mistake I finally got to a point where I just wouldn't even tell her when I'd be home back in the day because I didn't know when I'd be home and I didn't want to be held to a certain expectation. But now as I've grown and as I've matured, the business is hard. I may get caught up. I had to come into the office today, didn't plan on it. I communicated with my wife, hey, I was originally going to be home. Now I've got to go into the office. So for the young husbands out there or for the husbands who are new into business, over communicate with your wife on where you're going to be when you don't have to give her accountability, but it's like, hey babe, it's Saturday, unfortunately I'm going to have to work. Miss Johnson just canceled, said the only day she could do it was Saturday. Hey, so and so just called in. So know that you're going to be out of balance, but give her the attention and give your kids the attention. Imagine if you ran your household like you run your business. And hopefully you're running your business good, and right, you're pouring into all the things. You have a coach, you've got somebody running your marketing, you've got people in place, you've got a schedule, you've got a calendar that you work with, you've got a Google Doc, and you've got all these guiding principles, and you have core values. Imagine if we took just even a small portion of those things and we put them into our family. So like for our family, we have core values. We have the Lord family core values. And so there's 5 of those, and it's regularly talking to our kids about those, and then regularly scheduling date nights, which I admittedly am terrible at, and I've got to get much better about it. But yeah, I mean, the last encouragement for people is this is hard. Like at no point does it ever just get smooth sailing, and you get to spend all day with your wife and your kids, and you have a bunch of people running your business. At some point, something's going to go haywire. You are not alone. The rest of us, yeah, all these guys that Michael's interviewing, yes, they're super successful, but they have hard times even today, even though they've got great people in place. And so I just like to be really honest about that. I don't have it all figured out, but I know if I come in, I prioritize my family at the right times. I shared this quote with a friend yesterday, and I said, sometimes you just have to disappoint the right person. Brandon Vaughn, I'll never forget, we were on a coaching call, and he told me, Chase, it's not brain surgery. Reschedule the client. He's like, it's okay. You're washing houses. It's not brain surgery. If somebody calls out sick, reschedule them for, a week or 2 later. So that would be, it's not as serious that we think it is.
Yeah. 2 really good bits of feedback from that. One is communication. Like communication is everything. Oftentimes people have problems just because they don't communicate what's going on. If you just let them know what's going on, if you're transparent, and you're right, maybe don't set bad expectations, but just share what's going on that you have no idea when you'll be home. That'll resolve most of the problems they're facing. And then number 2, it's so important to realize like it's not the end of the world. Your business isn't going to crumble off of one reschedule for one customer. So I speak with some people, they're working like crazy hours every single day. They don't want to disappoint a client, but like honestly, like the client won't really be that upset as long as you're transparent about it and you treat them well and you're kind to them. Like you really won't have any issues. But where you may have issues if you're neglecting your wife, you're neglecting your family, neglecting the important things.
Yeah, 100%.
That's really good feedback. I know I speak with a lot of people like this, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers as well have faced those issues where they're thinking one day everything will change, they'll magically find time to spend with their family. That's just not going to happen. But you can start kind of being better with communication, prioritizing your family, doing those things now, and then just maintaining that as you grow your business. I mean, that alone will probably change life at home a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head.
Something else that kind of attaches both things we talked about was doing all this work. Like you even said at this point, there's some days where you're working a ton of hours and you don't get to see your family as much as you'd like to. There's some people that do exactly that, and at the end of the year, there's no profit. Like they're doing all this work and not actually making money. I spoke with a business owner today, actually, who when he first started, he scaled to 5 million per year after a few years. And when they look back at it, they didn't make any money. And it's crazy to think about because so many business owners do that today. So aside from, like you said, you're kind of looking at your team and seeing who you could remove and kind of restructure things to have higher margins, what else could people do to make sure they have those margins?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, you're in the marketing space, and this applies across the board. Know your numbers. Like, if you do not have, again, this guy Tom Kroll, I keep referring to him. He always says, "Don't do business with somebody who doesn't have a bookkeeper." And so I've coached so many people, and these are unbelievable people, like the hardest working people. They want to provide for the family, but they don't have accurate books. And so if you don't have a bookkeeper, find a bookkeeper, find somebody local. Like, you have to know your numbers. You can't, I don't remember what it is. What's the quote? You can't inspect what you don't, or you can't expect what you don't inspect. So I can't expect let's say I'm coaching you, I can't expect for you to have a 25% profit margin when there's nothing to measure. Like, I can't say, hey, we need to put these things in place. We need to increase efficiency with the guys, right? We need to lower this cost, or we need to increase this. Maybe we need to buy some equipment, or we need to invest here if I don't have anything to compare against. So the biggest thing, like if you're in business, whether you're doing $50,000 a month, 500, $5 million. And I talked to a guy, this was last year, is doing $1.5 million out in California and didn't have a bookkeeper. It's like never looked at a profit and loss statement. So know your numbers. The biggest thing is, and the guys like Josh Latimer talks about this a lot, like your ability to control your lifestyle is gonna directly affect your profit inside of the business. Too many times, and I have been so guilty of this, is we want to drain the bank account because we deserve it. We worked so hard. Remember those 14-hour days that we worked for 2 months? Like, I got to have the jet ski, as Josh calls it, or I got to have the hot tub, right? And so it's your ability to delay gratification that is going to exponentially change everything for you. It does you no good. Like you said, you've got this guy, he did $5 million, but had nothing to prove for it. It's like, so at that point, you just had an expensive hobby. So for us, we focus on a lot. We have a dashboard where we're constantly watching the guy's production rate, the man hour rate. And we have a dashboard that guys see every morning, and it's a little bit of a competition. Who has the highest hourly man hour rate? And so it's really encouraging them. Hey, what does it take to do a little bit more production? Because once you get to a certain production number, a man hour rate, anything above that, it's just cream on the top. If you can increase efficiency with the guys, but we've made the mistake in the past of and Tommy Mello would probably kill me because we don't have a production-based pay right now, but we do hourly, and then we have a bonus structure. We have a $500 bonus structure that rewards the guys for being on time, for no callbacks, no slippage due to neglect, five-star reviews, and I forget what the other one was. But I'm encouraging them to do the things that are going to have a phenomenal client experience. It doesn't do any good if you spend $500. I have guys spending $2,000 a month on Google Ads if you deliver a terrible client experience for that client and then they don't return back. So sometimes profit is not just in the short term. What can I do, in the next 30 days? Sometimes profit is, and I'd have to run a report and see, I know our repeat and our referral client rate is over 65%. It's because we have focused so much on that client experience and making sure that our clients want to refer us out, that they have a great experience. And therefore, when that repeat client comes, my customer acquisition cost is so much lower, therefore increasing my profit. So I just said a lot. I mean, just know your numbers, watch what you're doing, watch your marketing. I see too many people spending way too much money on things like Google Ads, right? I mean, this, having an overall marketing strategy is key. Not just saying, hey, let's increase Google Ads by another $1,000 this month, or let's throw some money into Facebook and see if it does something. I just said a lot in a short amount of time.
Yeah, definitely a lot to unpack, but they're all super valuable. Number one is just knowing your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, then you have no idea if you have healthy margins. For all you know, maybe your numbers look amazing, but usually they're not because you don't know your numbers. So just knowing your numbers, number one, is huge. Another really cool thing you said was the competition with your team members. So in a sales role, I mean, that's pretty straightforward. How much money are they closing, their close rates, things like that. You can kind of create competition that way. But that's actually something we haven't done, is creating a leaderboard for the technicians, for them to actually see, who's, being the most productive, the most efficient. But that's actually a really good idea because it does allow them to have that healthy competition within their type of role. So that's a really cool idea I'm actually going to take for myself.
Yeah.
But I'm sure a lot of people watching this are probably thinking, like, you're talking about margins, but you're talking about how you can pay your employees more with bonuses and things like that. They're probably not understanding, or it doesn't make sense. But when you can create that efficiency with your team members, they're going to produce so much more revenue for you. So even if you're paying them a little extra, you're making much more that covers that and more.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's why it's so important. So many people focus on the revenue numbers, but actually so I'm looking at it now. I have our daily production rate, what those guys are doing. I see, their weekly production rate. I see we're measuring all these different metrics that, I have guys, they'll say, well, my guys are doing, we're doing $5,000 a week. Well, I'm like, well, is that in a 4-day work week? Or is that in a 5-day work week? Is that an 8-hour day, a 10-hour day? And just really focusing in on those numbers is so important. And this is stuff we've learned over time. Like, I didn't just all of this was not in place back in February of 2016 when we started. This entire thing has been this lifelong, or this 8-year long journey of implementing and having coaches and people and mentoring and going to events and working with marketing agencies. We work with multiple and they've been amazing. And you eventually you graduate and you grow, and we're all just kind of maturing in this process. I told somebody this yesterday. If you ever have a coach or a mentor and they're like, I've got it all figured out, I got nowhere else to go, I know it all, like, run as fast as you can, because this whole thing is just a learning process. And I have had to humble myself many a times. And my business partner and I say we've learned more in the last 3 months than we did in the last 3 years of business. And that's actually like a really good thing. It's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow, but it's a really good thing for us.
That's all great. A lot of people, they overlook the boring stuff, which I mean, I think it's fun, but a lot of people think looking at the numbers, tracking KPI, stuff like that is all boring. But that's the stuff that is going to help you scale a business. Like if you scale, like, some people scale super quickly and then it turns out they lost money or didn't make any money, then they've done all that effort for nothing. So if you can start doing that now, and again, it's not going to happen overnight, but start planting the seed, learning these stuff, and you're not going to be great at it at first, but it's better to do it at this small scale as you grow than just to do it once it's kind of too late. These are the things that really help differentiate the successful business owners from the non-successful.
Absolutely.
Cool. That was really all my questions for today. This was all super valuable. I know a lot of people, these are things that as they scale a business, they're thinking, I want to spend a ton on marketing, Facebook ads. And that's my thing is Facebook ads. So it's contradictory for me to say this, but so many people overlook, taking care of my family, making sure that's in order, having margins as we scale, like all these other stuff that are so important. Many people don't prioritize, but they definitely should. So for anyone watching this, please take action on these stuff. This is super valuable. And this is how you can create, like you did, Chase, a 7-figure business that eventually, I'm sure when we speak again in 5 years, you'll have multiple businesses, each doing multiple 7 figures, all feeding into each other. That is an amazing strategy that can only be done by knowing your numbers and prioritizing all these stuff. Mm-hmm. So is there somewhere people can find you online if they want to learn a bit more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I spend a decent amount of time on Facebook. That, I guess that means I'm older. The older people spend time on Facebook. But yeah, reach out to me there. Direct message me there. My wife and I recently started a podcast. It's called the Chase Freedom podcast. It's just on YouTube right now. We're 6 episodes in. We're getting ready to go to the audio platforms. But we talk about just kind of some personal stuff and our experience of business and overcoming hardships. And but if you go, I think you go onto YouTube and you can search Chase and Mandy Lord, that should come up. But it's just, we know how hard this is, and we want to kind of come alongside people and kind of walk along this journey with them. So yeah, reach out, direct message me on Facebook, and we have a Chase Freedom community on Facebook. Would love for people to be a part of that. We talk business, entrepreneurship, family. So that's kind of a new community. But yeah, thank you for the opportunity to share those things.
Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely be joining the group as well, so I'll see you guys in there. But like I said, Chase, this was awesome, so I appreciate you hopping on today.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael.